Hello and welcome to U.S. History After School, Lesson 8, The Empire Business. I'm Mr. Childers. This lesson follows Chapter 22. Do I have that number right? Chapter 22 of the totally free, totally awesome OpenStax textbook in consultation with the Florida Gateway to U.S. History textbook to ensure coverage of Florida State history standards. If you don't have access to the OpenStax textbook, there is a link in the description of this video which can give you that totally free, totally awesome text. This video is best viewed as part of the U.S. History After School playlist. If you don't know how to access the playlist, there will be a link in the description of this video. So today we're talking about the expansion of United States territory and the building of an American empire. This handsome fellow with a well-kept beard here is someone you should know, Mr. Sargon of Akkad. I invited him to come be a guest speaker for you today, but excuses. He seems to think that because he's been dead for over 4,000 years, that he no longer has a responsibility to share his wisdom. So I would like to apologize to you on behalf of Sargon of Akkad. But Sargon of Akkad had a unique idea. He is a king, in an era of many kings, but he's the first guy in the long and storied history of ever to say, hey, you know what? I know I'm king of my country, but wouldn't it be nice if I were king of your country too, and yours, and yours, and yours? He is the builder of the Akkadian Empire, the first empire in world history. An empire is when a central political power, a nation, or sometimes even a city, reaches out in wars of conquest to acquire more and more and more territory. And generally speaking, the residents of the conquered territories are treated differently than the residents of the home territory. As I record this now, it is February of 2023, and we are 1 year into the war between Russia and Ukraine. This war is rather unique in our own day, though not at all unique in world history, in that it is a war of conquest. Vladimir Putin of Russia has looked at the sovereign neighboring nation of Ukraine and said, I want your territory to be our territory. He has his reasons, he has his rationalizations and alleged justifications based on deep historical connections between Russia and Ukraine, and many times in the past where Ukraine was under Russian leadership. But essentially, this is a war of conquest. And why it is so controversial in our time is that we sort of as a world thought we were past this. There's still unrest, there's still violence, there's still war in the world, though less than there has ever been, by the way. If that surprises you to hear that we live in the most peaceful time since the dawn of recorded history, I urge you to consult the extraordinary work, The Better Angels of Our Nature by Steven Pinker, one of the most important things written in the past 100 years. But at any rate, we don't do this anymore. All right, we've learned some hard lessons. We'll talk about some of those hard lessons in our own upcoming lessons in U.S. history. But this is something that's no longer considered acceptable in the world. Just invading another nation and saying, "Okay, your stuff is my stuff now. All your base or belong to us now." It also happened in my lifetime in 1991 when Saddam Hussein of Iraq attempted to conquer the neighboring country of Kuwait, and the world reacted with the same kind of outrage you're seeing about the Ukrainian invasion, and we went to war, and we sort of fixed that problem. We didn't fix all the problems over there, as I shouldn't even giggle, because as the further years of warfare and the thousands of dead in the wars that ran most of my students' lifetimes will attest. But anyway, this is something we don't do today. And if the President of the United States got on television today and said, "I'm declaring war on Canada because I want Canada to be ours," he wouldn't be met with cheers and high fives. It'd be roundly condemned. Wars of conquest and the building of empires is simply considered unacceptable today. But it wasn't always like that. The American Revolution. In the American Revolution, and this nation was represented here by the definitive battle between Benjamin Franklin and Zeus that won the American Revolution for us. The American Revolution, our nation was forged in a war that was all about freeing us from empire, from the British Empire, and gaining us our independence. But basically, as soon as we did that, as soon as we said, hey, living under the boot of a foreign empire is oppressive and unjust, and we will be free, we then glanced to our left and said, all right, time to start building an empire ourselves. We don't usually talk about the Westward Expansion, the 100-year story of our nation growing from the 13 original states along the East Coast to spanning the entire continent east to west. We don't usually use the language of empire for this, partially because the language we have for this was handed down to us from the pioneers who settled across the West, who didn't think of themselves as imperialists, thought of themselves as simply claiming the territory that was our God-given right. But in hindsight, of course, we know that westward expansion across the frontier was the story of conquering territory that belonged to other people. All your base belong to us. But there's a pretty big, pretty unget-overable limit to westward expansion, and that's the Pacific Ocean. Once we had made it all the way across the continent, east to west, it seemed there was nowhere else to go. And it seemed to many that the period of the frontier was dead and gone. It certainly felt that way to Frederick Jackson Turner, who was a historian who gave a very influential speech in Chicago in 1893 about the frontier. His concern is that that with the absence of a frontier, with nowhere else left to expand, we're in danger of losing our identity as Americans, because according to his frontier thesis, it's largely in the frontier, in the notion that there is somewhere else to go, somewhere else to move, that was forged many of the elements of American identity that we associate with our country. And optimism. There's a brighter future. There's always a brighter future ahead. A spirit of rugged individualism that anybody can pull himself up or pull herself up and go see what he needs, see what he wants, and take what he needs, take what he wants. We ourselves in this course have used, at least in some sense, have used that thesis when we discussed the frontier in our Go West lessons. So much of the American identity was forged in the frontier, and so Turner raises the alarm that in the absence of frontier, what is to become of American identity? And how will we maintain our unique political culture and innovative spirit without a frontier? How would we expand our economy if we could no longer expand our territory? For more on Turner and his thesis, check out this next video.